The legend just returned and shattered everything we thought we knew. Chris Jericho, the man who defined reinvention, who conquered every promotion, who left WWE to become AEW's founding father, just walked back through those WWE doors after 6 years and dropped the most explosive bombshell in wrestling history. He stood in that Raw ring, microphone in hand, and hinted that he wants to be John Cena's final opponent at WrestleMania 41. Not hinted, declared. With coded messages, cryptic references, and that signature Jericho intensity that tells you this isn't just talk, this is destiny. If you think you're ready for Chris Jericho versus John Cena in the retirement match that closes out both legends' careers, you're lying to yourself. Because what Jericho said on Raw wasn't just a challenge, it was a manifesto about legacy, about who deserves to be the one standing across from Cena when he hangs up his boots, and why every other potential opponent should just step aside. This is the story of how the greatest returner in wrestling history just positioned himself as the final chapter in John Cena's legendary book. And I'm going to break down every moment, every word, every gesture that proves Chris Jericho versus John Cena is inevitable. Monday Night Raw opened normally. Pyro, music, energy, but then the lights went out. Complete darkness. The crowd started buzzing because unscheduled light cuts always mean something big. And then, a clock appeared on the Titantron. Not just any clock, the countdown clock. The one that signals a Jericho appearance. But wait, Jericho works for AEW. He's been Tony Khan's cornerstone for years. He can't be here, can he? The countdown hit 0 and the lights came back with Jericho's music. Not a new theme, not a remixed version, but the original Break the Walls Down that defined his WWE runs. The crowd lost their minds. 20,000 people on their feet. Jaws dropped. Phones raised. Everyone trying to process what they were witnessing. Chris Jericho in WWE in 2025. Y2J walked out looking like a killer. Not the goofy sports entertainer character from AEW. Not the Learning Tree version. This was prime Jericho. Leather jacket. Scarf. That intensity in his eyes that says he's here for war, not nostalgia. He stood at the top of the ramp, arms spread in his iconic pose, soaking in a reaction he hadn't heard in over half a decade. The camera caught everything, wrestlers backstage watching monitors in shock. Adam Pearce looking confused and excited. Triple H in his office nodding with what looked like approval. This wasn't a surprise to management, this was planned. Jericho's WWE return had been orchestrated at the highest levels. Drop your honest reaction right now. Did you think Chris Jericho would ever return to WWE after helping build AEW? Jericho walked down that ramp with purpose. No pandering to the crowd. No playing to the cameras. Just walking like a man on a mission. He climbed the steel steps, wiped his feet on the apron, still showing respect for the ring, and stepped through the ropes. He stood center ring, grabbed a microphone that was waiting for him, and let the crowd reaction wash over him for a full minute before speaking. Welcome to Raw. I.S. Jericho. The place erupted again. That signature catchphrase hitting different in 2025. But then his tone shifted. Became serious. Now I know what you're all thinking. What is Chris Jericho doing here? Doesn't he work somewhere else? Didn't he help build another company? He paused, letting the questions hang. Well, here's the thing about Chris Jericho, I don't belong to anyone. I'm not owned by any promotion. I am a free agent. And right now, I'm exercising my freedom to be exactly where I want to be, in a WWE ring on Monday Night Raw. The explanation was vague but electrifying. Jericho continued, for 6 years, I've been doing my thing elsewhere. Creating new characters. Reinventing myself. Proving that at damn near 55 years old, I can still go. Still innovate. Still be the best in the world at what I do. But there's been something missing. Something gnawing at me. A piece of unfinished business that I can only settle here in WWE. The crowd started buzzing again. What unfinished business? Jericho paced the ring like a caged animal. You see, I've been watching WWE from afar. I've seen new stars rise. I've seen old rivals retire. I've seen the business evolve. But there's one thing I keep hearing that bothers me. Something that makes me physically ill. And that's the conversation about John Cena's retirement match. The mention of Cena's name got a massive pop. Everyone knew Cena had announced his final match at WrestleMania 41. The wrestling world had been speculating for months about who his opponent should be. And now Jericho was addressing it directly. Everyone's got an opinion on who should face John Cena at WrestleMania. Should it be Roman Reigns? Should it be Randy Orton? Should it be some young star who needs the rub? Well, let me make something crystal clear. There's only one person who deserves to be John Cena's final opponent. Only one person who has the history, the legacy, the credibility to give Cena the send-off he deserves. And that person is standing in this ring right now. Second question for the comments: is Chris Jericho the perfect final opponent for John Cena, or is there someone better? The crowd was divided. Some were loving this. Others thought Jericho was out of his mind. Jericho kept going. Don't believe me? Let me give you a history lesson. Who gave John Cena his first significant feud in WWE? Me. Who made Cena prove himself as a top star? Me. Who's had classic matches with Cena spanning 2 decades? Me. Who's the only person who can claim they were in the ring with Cena during his rise and could be there for his fall? Me. The logic was sound. Jericho and Cena's history went back to 2002. Their feud over the Undisputed Championship was one of Cena's first major programs. They'd had incredible matches at house shows, on TV, at pay-per-views. The connection was undeniable. But it's more than just history. Jericho's voice rose with passion. It's about respect. It's about 2 men who've defined modern wrestling having one final collision. It's about closing a chapter that started 23 years ago. Roman Reigns? He's had his time with Cena. Randy Orton? They've fought a million times. But me and John Cena? We have one more story to tell. And that story deserves to be told at WrestleMania. Then Jericho's tone shifted to something darker. And here's what John Cena needs to understand. I'm not asking for this match. I'm not requesting to be his final opponent. I'm demanding it. Because if John Cena retires without facing me one last time, his legacy will be incomplete. There will always be a what if? There will always be a question mark. And I refuse to let that happen. The intensity was off the charts. Jericho wasn't playing around. This wasn't a storyline gimmick, this felt real. He continued, so John Cena, I know you're watching. I know you're backstage or at home or filming some movie or doing whatever the hell you do nowadays. So let me speak directly to you. He looked straight into the camera. You want your retirement match to matter? You want it to be something people remember forever? Then you need the best. And whether you want to admit it or not, whether it bruises your ego or not, the best is Chris Jericho. Always has been. Always will be. The crowd was eating this up. Love him or hate him, Jericho knew how to create a moment. I'm not leaving WWE until I get an answer from John Cena. I'm not going anywhere until he looks me in the eye and tells me yes or no. And if he says no, then everyone will know that John Cena feared facing Chris Jericho one last time, that he took the coward's way out, that his retirement wasn't on his terms, it was on his limitations. Third question, if Cena refuses to face Jericho, would that make him a coward or would he be right to choose someone else? Just as Jericho's promo reached its peak, Randy Orton's music hit. The Viper walked out looking pissed. He had his own history with both Jericho and Cena, and clearly, he had something to say about Jericho's proclamation. Orton grabbed a mic on his way to the ring. Well, look who decided to show up. Orton's voice dripped with sarcasm. Chris Jericho, the man who left WWE to go play in someone else's sandbox, now wants to come back and claim he deserves John Cena's retirement match? That's rich. The crowd oohed. Jericho didn't back down. Randy, the Viper, the Legend Killer. Tell me something, how many times have you faced John Cena? 50? 100? 200? Your matches are so repetitive that I can't even remember which WrestleMania or SummerSlam you guys headlined. You and Cena? That story's been told. Multiple times. But me and Cena? We have unfinished business. Orton got in Jericho's face. Unfinished business? You abandoned WWE. You don't get to just walk back in here and make demands. You want Cena's final match? You'll have to go through me first. The challenge was issued. The 2 legends stood nose to nose. Years of history between them. Jericho was about to respond when Seth Rollins' music hit. The architect walked out, adding more fuel to the fire. Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt this trip down memory lane, but are we really doing this? Are we really letting part-timers and guys who don't even work here decide who gets major WrestleMania matches? Seth entered the ring, creating a 3-way standoff. I've got as much claim to facing Cena as anyone. I'm the present. I'm the guy who's here every week. Not flying in for special appearances. Not bouncing between promotions. Here, grinding, working, and if John Cena's retirement match is happening, it should be against someone who represents WWE's current era, not yesterday's news. Jericho laughed. Yesterday's news? Kid, I was main eventing WrestleManias when you were still trying to figure out how to do a proper elbow drop. You think you're the present? You're a placeholder. And placeholders don't get legacy matches. The tension was explosive. 3 top stars all claiming they deserve Cena's final match. The crowd was loving it. Chants of "This is awesome" echoed. Adam Pearce rushed out to restore order. Gentlemen, this is getting out of hand. I'm not letting this devolve into chaos. So here's what's going to happen. Everyone's attention turned to Pearce. Next week on Raw, we're having a triple threat match. Chris Jericho vs Randy Orton vs Seth Rollins. And the winner earns the right to challenge John Cena for his retirement match at WrestleMania 41. The loser? They can watch from catering. The announcement was huge, but Jericho grabbed Pierce's mic. Wait. That's fine. I'll beat both these guys, but add one more stipulation. If I win, John Cena has to accept. No backing out. No choosing someone else. No excuses. Deal? Pierce looked uncomfortable but nodded. Deal. The following week, Raw's main event arrived. The triple threat match had been heavily promoted. WWE marketed it as one of the biggest matches in Raw history, and they were right. This wasn't just about winning, this was about legacy, about who gets the honor of being part of John Cena's farewell. The entrances were electric. Seth Rollins came out first, looking focused and determined. Randy Orton got a massive pop, the legend who's been with WWE for over 2 decades. And Chris Jericho received the loudest reaction, half cheers, half boos, all passion. The match bell rang and chaos erupted. The match was incredible. 25 minutes of pure wrestling brilliance. Near falls that had the crowd on their feet. Each man hitting their signature moves, Rollins' stomp, Orton's RKO, Jericho's codebreaker. But every time someone went for the pin, someone else broke it up. The desperation was real. Everyone knew what this match meant. At one point, Orton had Jericho set up for the RKO. The crowd was roaring, but Rollins hit Orton with a super kick. Rollins went for the stomp on Jericho, but Jericho moved and Seth's foot caught Orton instead. Jericho capitalized. He grabbed Rollins from behind, hit the Judas effect, his finishing elbow strike. Rollins went down. Jericho covered. 1, 2, 3. Chris Jericho wins. The crowd exploded. Whether you loved or hated the result, you couldn't deny the drama. Jericho rolled out of the ring, exhausted but triumphant. He just earned the right to challenge John Cena. The dream match was one step closer to reality. But then, John Cena's music hit. The crowd went nuclear. Cena walked out, street clothes, looking serious. He stood at the top of the ramp, staring at Jericho. The two legends locked eyes. Jericho yelled, "Give me your answer." Cena just stood there. The tension was unbearable. Finally, Cena grabbed a mic. "Chris Jericho wants an answer? Fine. You want to be my final opponent? You think you deserve to be the last man I face?" Cena paused. The silence was deafening. "Then you got it. At WrestleMania 41, it's John Cena vs Chris Jericho. The final chapter." Fourth question: rate this dream match on a scale of 1 to 10. Is Cena vs Jericho at WrestleMania a 10? The confirmation sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. Social media exploded. Hashtag Cena vs Jericho trend #1 worldwide within minutes. Wrestling journalists called it the perfect retirement match. Even casual fans who hadn't watched in years were suddenly interested. This was money. This was legacy. This was must-see. The build over the following weeks was masterful. Cena and Jericho traded promos that were equal parts respect and viciousness. Jericho: "John, you've had an amazing career, but it ends with me standing over you, proving I was always better." Cena: "Chris, you're one of the all-time greats, but I'm not going out on my back to someone who couldn't commit to one company." The back and forth was intense. Both men bringing up their entire history. Jericho referenced being undisputed champion when Cena was just starting. Cena countered by mentioning he's a 16-time world champion while Jericho's been chasing relevance. The promos cut deep, hitting on real insecurities while staying within storyline. 3 weeks before WrestleMania, they had a face-to-face that became legendary. Both men standing in the ring, no physicality, just words. Jericho: "You know what's funny, John? You spent your whole career being the face of WWE. The company man. The guy who never left. And where did it get you? You had to go to Hollywood to feel valued. But me? I proved I could thrive anywhere. WWE, NJPW, AEW, everywhere I go, I'm the best. So who's really the legend here?" Cena's response was emotional. "You're right, Chris. You are one of the best to ever do this. That's why facing you means something. But here's what you need to understand: I didn't leave WWE because I wasn't valued. I left because I wanted to challenge myself, to grow, to be more than just a wrestler. And I succeeded. I became a movie star, a cultural icon. While you kept chasing the wrestling high. And there's nothing wrong with that. But don't act like your path is superior. We're just different. And at WrestleMania, we'll see which path leads to victory."